So we'll see. I don't care about no. I kind of discourage them to look at the other
These two pictures, when you compare them, you realize Howard is going to try and fly it. And what it is, look on the windscreen directly ahead of you. There's a decal. It's not there. Now it is there. Sometime between these two photos, Howard has somebody put it there. It's an indication of the speed and flap setting for the aircraft.
Nice.
Maybe as a reminder. And this photo is an individual from a Los Angeles radio station. See this guy in the middle?
Yeah.
He's going to record what's going to happen on the third run. On the second run, Howard noted the aircraft got up on the step. If you know anything about flying boats, you realize you're on top of the water. You're not in the water, you're not in the air, you're on top of the water. So James McNamara, this guy, turned on his recording equipment. This is what he recorded.
This is James McNamara speaking to you from the cabin of the giant Hughes aircraft once again. Howard Hughes has just alerted us. He has asked everyone to hold on. And he'll get all 8 inches moving. Tremendous horsepower kicking up. Howard is sitting directly in front of us. Holding on to his seat. Here we go. Here we go. The airspeed indicator. Let's go up to 25. It's 30. 35, as he pushes the throttle, it's 20, it's 25, more throttle, it's 25, it's 50, it's 50 over a choppy sea, it's 55, it's 55, more throttle, it's 60, it bounces to 65, it's 70, it's 75, and something momentarily he cuts out, and I believe we are airborne. We are airborne, ladies and gentlemen, and I don't believe that Howard Hughes meant this to be. I don't know. We were airborne for just a moment, and we were really up in the air. We were really up in the air. And I don't know whether Howard, did you expect that? Certainly, I like to make surprise.
Is this the original?
You were surprised? You
Oh,
know,
wow.
I said I don't have to make a surprise.
Yeah, we have this on 78 RPM record in the archives.
So bro's essentially just sitting here going, more throttle.
Sorry, question? Yeah. And maybe you guys like to
Yeah, sure.
But so bro is just going, more throttle. Just sitting here going,
decided
Yeah,
louder than
he
the
does.
engines.
He is louder than the engines.
So you said that person was sitting probably right
Yeah, he was standing right behind her.
Okay, so you said he
This
was
wasn't
hanging
there.
onto his seat. So
Yeah. So this part of the counter was not there at that time. That's like how it's happened.
Okay, here, come sit right here. Or stand right here. You don't have to sit.
Ooh, plane just took off.
Oh,
Yeah, one just took off.
Oh, you go first.
It's actually a really good view to see the. No, it's alright.
Oh, no, you sure? Okay.
Yeah. I don't care. It is your tour.
beware the ceiling is kind of hard.
It's so cool,
So
but
many buttons. Wow.
Mommy, you get all the buttons.
You get all the buttons.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well,
Well,
now she gets all the buttons, but look at this picture. Look how different this is from what it is there. They
Yeah.
continue to make modifications.
Yeah, when
Yeah.
in this picture they're like pointing
And
forward.
look at the throttle. There's only 4 because
Yeah, and also-
there's 1 per pair of engines.
and also because that guy right there is the
Well,
triangle
there's
isn't
8
necessarily
of
there.
there. There's 8 of there.
Yeah, now there's 8. Here there's only 4.
Do we know who kept adding the
Well,
who made
his
those?
engineers kept modifying it.
Honestly,
So
Not
why
bad.
didn't he fly? Why did he only fly the half mile? Oh yeah. So you wanna?
Yeah, I did. That's cool.
it is
Yeah.
kind of scary though. I ain't gonna lie. Just going, oh boy, I'm high, alright.
We're about 25 feet above the ground.
No way. That.
So
No.
he flew it less than a half mile. Why? Why not further? Long Beach Harbor is only a couple of miles long. You can hear how long it takes him to get up to speed. Remember, as a flying boat, it has no landing gear, it has no brakes. Once he takes off, he's got to realize he's got to get it back in the water, so he's just going to have to stop himself. So that's probably why the flight was so short that day. Had to take off quickly and get it back down in order not to run out of harbor.
Run out of what?
Harbor. He was running out of water. He was getting towards the end of the harbor.
Oh.
Okay, then just go around.
He had a minimum amount of fuel. He'd already made several taxi runs. He was probably getting low on fuel.
Understandable.
Now, if you use the max flight, you can fly for like 3 minutes, 4 minutes now. So why does it end up here? Why here? It was built in Culver City, not far from Long Beach Harbor. The pieces are built in 2 large hangars, which is still there, made of the same material as the aircraft. The pieces are carted down to Long Beach Harbor where it's assembled there at the edge of the water. Howard dies in '76. His estate donates it to the Airport of Southern California, who put it on display in the White Dome next to the Queen Mary until the late 80s when the Disney Corporation buys the property to build Fort Disney, which, from what I've seen in the archives, was going to be this amazing amusement park, but that never happened for whatever reason. In the meantime, the Aero Club had to find a new home for it. They received 6 offers, and the one they selected was that of Michael King Smith, who's the son of Del Smith, who's the founder of Evergreen International. See that cargo plane out there?
Beautiful 747.
They had a fleet of large cargo planes around that provided service throughout the world. They also provided aircraft maintenance throughout the U.S., but their offices, the headquarters, was over in those buildings. So they paid the Aero Club $250,000. They spent several million more to have the same people that built it take it apart, put it on a barge, bring it up the coast, over to Vancouver, Washington, transfer it to 4 river barges so they could get it up to the Willamette. Over here to Dayton, 5 miles, they trucked it from there over to temporary buildings that were over there until this building was built. Bring the pieces in, reassemble it, put the back of the building. That's how it was.
When was that?
So it was brought up in 91, 92.
Yeah, I remember this as
That
a
was a
kid. I
big
remember
deal.
seeing pictures of it in the newspapers and the trucks and barges.
And unfortunately, it took about 8 or 9 years. They had to design this building. Michael King Smith was killed in an auto accident in 1995, so that delayed it. Eventually, they got it all done. Now, there's some speculation that if it wasn't here, they would have broken it up and targeted it out to museums. But it's one of the selling points. They were going to keep it intact. They put the back of the building on, they built the mezzanine, so this building was built around this.
Right.
I remember coming here with my grandfather
Yeah.
when I was younger, so I think it must have been like pretty soon
2001 is when the museum opened.
after. Okay.
I wonder if the entrance would start up again. They ain't powered.
No,
When disconnected.
everything is disconnected.
Yeah.
And, yeah, that would be a major undertaking to start. Now, if you go to Madras, Oregon, about 4 hours east of here, they have one of the few single-engine fighters that uses that engine, the Martin Waller. More to show you once we get downstairs.
Okay. We're gonna go back to the
Yes.
back in the food
So all
storage.
of these switches control.
So they are controlling these monitors. At different points, they were going to take temperatures. They must have had sensors
Take
at various
temperatures
locations.
of what?
Various points in the aircraft.
How come we need like a bunch of switches for just one?
Well, I'm not up on that.
Yeah.
They felt like it. They felt like it. That's the answer.
Maybe if
Please take your time going down the steps.
Because there's 4 to just one thing.
Fair enough.
1940 technology.
These very small cargo ships that were getting torpedoed as they went across the river. And Henry thought this would be a great way to get back at the Germans for torpedoing all these Liberty ships, build peaceful boats. And the problem was Henry had never built an airplane. But that didn't really slow him down much. He went to
it's insulated all the way around.
I still am.
Well, it was a stable all-weather. I'm not so sure the F-18 was that good, but electronics probably made it better. So
Well, we had the radars that we were doing the attack plane, so we were a little better for
yeah.
grounding our ground.
Have you been over the other side and seen the F-117? Yeah. You know, if you ever get
It's $24 for each on the top of it.
no, right here.
Oh, right now?
Yeah. 2 o'clock.
Yeah. Oh, honey, I think we're doing tours right now, but we didn't buy one. So maybe next time.
We do the tours at 11 and 2, and that's it.
That's it.
Yep. I didn't know that.
Says where?
Says the thing I just read. I pulled up their website.
So, why built a large flying boat, and out of wood at that? In 1942, the United States enters the Second World War. In the first few months, the German U-boats will sink several hundred of our cargo ships. So as a solution, they thought about building a fleet of large flying boats to fly over the U-boats and deliver troops and cargo to Europe. So the federal government led a contract for $18 million. They wanted 3 aircraft. The contract was taken by Henry J. Kaiser. You've heard of Kaiser Permanente, you know, part of his legacy. But back then, he was known for big things, and by big things, the Hoover Dam, the Grand Coulee, the Bonneville Dam, the Oakland Bay Bridge. And during the war, his shipyards were built thousands, well, over 1,000. Sometimes I get a little carried away. Anyway, he's willing to use some of those yards to assemble aircraft, but he doesn't know how to build aircraft, and he couldn't convince any of the big aircraft companies to partner with him until he convinced Howard Hughes to come on board. Howard Hughes in the 30s is known for a number of things. In 1935, he will fly his H-1 Racer across the U.S. at a record speed of 355 miles an hour. 1938, he'll set a record flying around the world in a Lockheed Electra with a crew of 4, which, by the way, is the year after Amelia Earhart had disappeared. But Howard knew Amelia, and maybe he realized maybe there's a better way to do it. He hired the best crew probably money could buy, because money was no object with Howard. And he flew a different route. But Howard comes out of Houston, Texas, where his father had been a wildcatter in the oil and gas industry. And his father patented a drill bit, maybe you saw it down below, made the family millionaires. But his father died suddenly when Howard was just 18, and suddenly he inherits his company, which he will keep until about 1970 because it generates a lot of money. However, he didn't want to live in Houston, Texas. He run this tool company. He hired good people to run it for him while he pursued one of his ambitions, that was to make movies. He moved out to Los Angeles with his first wife, Ella Rice, Rice University, acquired his first movie studio, developed used aircraft, consolidated a number of airlines to create TWA. Well, Howard was controlling, to say the least, and maybe in part that's why it took him 1947 to complete this one aircraft. Since the war ended in 1945, there was no reason to pursue the production phase. But the aircraft posed several challenges, and the first one was the government said you couldn't use strategic metal to build this prototype. Howard had the rights to Fairchild Aircraft for the Duramo process, which allows you to bond and shape wood. So the decking that we're standing on, the framework and the skin, is laminated birch. Essentially, this is a plywood aircraft. 152,000 board feet laminated birch. It's painted to look like metal, but for the most part, the aircraft is made out of birch. The aircraft also posed other challenges, and one of those was how to control something this big. At that time, aircraft like the B-17 was essentially operated by human muscle power, from the pilot's controls by way of cable back to the flight control surface. But this aircraft has over 1,400 square feet of flight control surface, so that method is not good. Dave Grant was a design engineer for Hughes Aircraft. He designed a boosted hydraulic flight control system, which this is a backup. It was added sometime after the flight. These lines were part of the design before the engine's power a system that converts 1 pound of pull and multiplies it by 2,000 times. So they overcame that problem. The production versions realized that this had to be a flying boat, because in the 40s there's no airfield in the world big enough for an aircraft of this size. And as a flying boat takes off and lands in water, you don't need landing gear, you save maybe 15% of the weight of the aircraft. But the production versions were intended to have large clamshell doors in the nose. The idea was pull up to the dock and just drive your cargo on and off. We don't think much of that today, but that was a fairly new concept back at that time. Below us are a series of watertight compartments. The bilge or the fuel deck is down there. Space for 14 1,000-gallon fuel tanks, so it's only 8 in this prototype. But the production versions need that much fuel because the Pratt & Whitney R4360 major WASP engine out there is the biggest radial ever built. If you haven't seen the cutaway down below, check that out after the tour. 28 cylinders generating 3,000 horsepower, each engine burning 109 gallons of fuel per hour. Do the math, that's times 8. Even to cruise at 150 miles an hour. So they managed to deal with that as well. After Howard flew in 1947, 300 used aircraft people continued to make all these modifications. They secured it, they kept it ready to fly for almost 30 years. But Howard never came back to fly the second time, never authorized anybody else, although he was paying $1 million a year. Now there's some belief he was afraid this aircraft was too heavy-handed and maybe still underpowered. But he also crashed 4 of their aircraft in his lifetime. 16 months before he flew this aircraft, he crashed his XF-11 in Beverly Hills. That should have killed him. That was a terrible crash. One of the engines locked up, and he tried to land on a fairway at the Beverly Hills golf course, and he didn't make it. He ran into 2 houses, burning over 30% of his body and broke every rib. But he came back 16 months later to fly this. In 1943, he was involved in the crash of the Sikorsky S-43 flying boat in Lake Mead. That killed 2 of the crew members. One of the survivors managed to pull him from the plane before it sank 160 feet to the bottom of the lake. Yet he paid, $100,000 back then to pull the aircraft out of the lake, restore it, and he flew that aircraft. Oh, really? That aircraft is now in the Fantasy Flight Collection in Orlando. At some point in the 50s, his people put that big box. That is part of the air conditioning, air filtration. Nice thing for us is that put in a stairway. Prior to this, you needed a as soon as they come down.
Keep coming down, there's one more up there, just keep going.
Okay.
I think they're coming down now.
We'll head up.
Well, thank you. You're welcome.
Flotation. In case you ever punched a hole in the floats, they were in there as kind of.
I didn't do that, no. I just flew around Tacoma-ish.
So you see these teardrop shaped things? So they're radio direction finders. If you know the frequency and location of a radio beacon, you can use those to navigate on them. But most planes are on the outside. This plane are on the inside because this aircraft is made out of wood. So let's head on up.
Alright. You want to go up first?
Go ahead.
We might be a little slower. Hang on, Liza.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
That's right. Oh my, there's. Whoa. Whoa. Oh, it's safe.
They wouldn't let me go there.
It to be this.
Yeah.
I didn't expect there to be seats. What kind of flight crew we needing?
Very nice.
Wow.
It does actually. It looks like a flying boat. Because it is a flying boat. I probably should have thought about that.
I think it's
So, the plexiglass on that side of the fuselage, of course, is not original. That was added when it was placed on display next to the Queen Mary and the White Dome. And they had a platform up and people would stand up and look into the flight deck. So that side of the aircraft was like that. So start the engines, start these auxiliary power units first. If you start it electrically or with a crank, they will feed power to 1, 3, and 7 engines. Each of those has an electric generator. It will start the other 5 engines and then turn this on. So, 109 gallons of fuel per hour per engine. You're going to pump it from the fuel deck down the roof of these lines. Up to your engines out there.
I want to see how high we are.
Oh, we're pretty high.
So you can stand fully upright inside the wing all the way to the outboard engines.
Oh my. Yo,
So
that's
wherever you see those cross braces, those are mounts for the nacelles.
Oh. All the way down there. We could just walk all the way down there.
The day of the Howard Fluid, there were 2 engineers stationed in each wing just to monitor the situation. Now, way
is
down in the dark,
crazy.
you're not looking at the end of the wing. There's another bulkhead down there, and there's 40 feet of wing beyond it. So the main wing spar here, this bulkhead is 11 feet vertically and 320 feet from tip to tip. So if we're standing on the 50-yard line, our wings are extending 10 feet in each end zone. The green tank over here is a 250-gallon fuel transfer tank. There's one in each wing. The gray tank is a 300-gallon oil tank. Each engine has a 30-gallon tank behind it for lubrication. But the 4360s were notorious for if they weren't leaking oil or burning oil, they were probably out of oil. So the flight engineers can pump oil from here to any engine that would need it. After landing, to assist the pilot to maneuver to a dock, one of the crew members would come back here, open this hatch, raise this platform, climb up there. This is like a crow's nest. They can plug into the black box up there, speak directly to the pilot, and assist them in guiding the aircraft to the docking area. For internal communications, there are 18 of these boxes at various points around the aircraft. The dozen seats you see here, they're not for the crew. They're for media people that expected to be on board at one time or another. Now we know they're from commercial aircraft from the period because they have DAC.
Smoking.
What's that? That's good because you recognize it, right?
Yeah,
It's for smoking on it.
It's an ashtray.
Yep.
I saw a bunch of them down there on the airliner seats.
Yeah, yeah.
I wonder how you got the airliner
Would you
seat.
want somebody smoking on your wooden airplane?
No, that's
People
it.
used to smoke on airplanes.
First off,
Remember
if you're
how I
smoking
said downstairs there was like these little things
Hmm.
on the seats?
what could go
But I said,
wrong?
I remember those as almost like little, people used them as trash cans, I think, when I was little, but yeah.
There are 30 miles of wiring in the aircraft. Most of it goes to the cockpit.
That's crazy.
Some of it goes to these instruments were added after the flight with the intention of collecting data on stress, temperature, but since it never flew again, they never really got to utilize it. So, let's see how we're going to do this. How about if you let me use your camera phone,
Yeah.
I'll have you take a seat up front, we'll take a picture, and then
Yes.
we'll switch.
Mhm.
Thank you.
Here.
Okay, take the left seat.
Pick this one.
Yep. Sit. Don't touch the instruments, though.
Okay, won't touch it.
Lean back, lean in, and look back this way. I need to see you. Okay.
Oh, sweet causes sick.
I think this worked. Go ahead and check my work.
Here. That is cool. It's okay if I go down now?
Yeah.
Okay, here. Be careful not to hit anything. Don't want to start it up.
Oh, there's a bulkhead with 40 feet of wing behind it. So you have a camera phone and you'll permit me, I'll have you guys take seats up forward.
Thank
You
you.
wanna go get your
Yeah,
picture?
taking, buddy?
Yeah,
Go
go up there,
far, I've
kiddos.
got more
I
detail.
won't. Yeah, I won't go too far.
So, you guys decide who's gonna be Howard on the left, who's gonna be Dave Grant. On the right. Dave Grant was the guy that designed the flight control system. He's not a pilot. Yeah, go ahead.
Eliza, you can sit on the other side.
Yeah, I can imagine if that's a fire alarm. It would make sense.
Yeah.
I mean,
Guys, lean
I mean, if you got that and
back
that.
this way.
Oh no, this is great.
This is gonna make a killer video.
So,
Eliza, listen.
you're
I better
probably,
get at least 1,000 views on this.
um,
Even then, that would be good.
So, Howard has taken $18 million from the federal government for a plane that has never flown before, so the government is not keen on it, although he put in $7 million of his own to finish it. So he's got a case to prove that this plane would fly. It's got high-speed taxi. It's not supposed to fly from one flight to another. You know, now, remember, it's a flying boat, right? Takes off and lands in the water. We don't have nothing to fly. There's nothing to hooked up anyway. Anyway, so Howard wants to prove that the aircraft is operational. However, Howard's flown planes. If it doesn't feel right, he can fly it. He can say, I told you I was going to fly it. But you see this picture? This is taken on November 1st, 1947, the day before the flight.
Ooh, can I see that? Ooh, yeah.
This one is
Money
taken the
shot.
next day when he flies it, November 2nd.
Money shot.
And you can also see the watertight doors on either side of the compartment.
Oh, yeah,
Imagine
damn.
when you're on the deck, that's the end of the cargo deck. You don't put anything beyond that. You have to balance your aircraft. Yet the cargo deck is as long as 2 tanks. The red tanks, CO2 tanks, for fire suppression. There are 8 sets. There's 8 engines. And they're channeled to this manifold controlled by the flight engineers. Beach balls. They're reassembling the aircraft here at the museum. One of the guys, his curiosity gets the best of him. He climbs up on the wing float, that pontoon that hangs down off the wing. There's a hatch on top. He opens it and climbs in.
There's beach
Beach
balls.
finds beach balls.
That's so random.
The idea of the beach balls was that if you were to hit an object, the wing float, tear or rupture it, the beach balls provide displacement and buoyancy to keep the wing float up, to keep the wing out of the water. When you say the most amazing thing, I guess, is they were inflated in 1952. So inflated.
Dang, don't pop it.
Don't let the kids play with them. They last a long time.
Clearly they
No
don't.
kidding.
Yeah.
If it was made then.
Now, it sounds like a strange idea, but there are stranger ones.
Yeah, there is.
The Electra, he flew around the world in 1938. They found 80 pounds of ping pong balls in the framework. Now, the Electra is not a flying boat, so I guess the idea was maybe if they went down in the water, give them a few extra seconds to get out.
He has
However,
some weird obsession with it.
racing boats in the 30s, it was not uncommon apparently to have ping pong balls in various compartments for the same purpose. And even today, kayaks have styrofoam in certain compartments, basically for the same purpose. Now, when you're flying today in a commercial aircraft, you're burning fuel, emptying the tanks, fuel vapors are building up. To neutralize the chance of an explosion, they either vent those or pump in nitrogen gas. This plane, they bring in air in these intakes, they channel it down through the fuel compartment, and they vent it over there on that side of the aircraft. Now, Howard didn't own this plane outright until 1975. He leased it to that point. He finally decided to buy it. At that time, the Smithsonian owned it. He paid them $700,000 to own it. But they also wanted his H-1 racer, which is in the Smithsonian in downtown Washington, D.C., even to this day. And maybe the strangest thing about that is he flew in 1935, and 40 years later, when he turns it over, it's still sitting in the Culver City hangar, maintained and ready to go.
He has a habit of crashing and then just like flying something once and then just like
Okay.
No.
So I had some flight attendants from Las Vegas here. Howard lived in Las Vegas. At one point, he bought 8 hotels and casinos there. But he also bought the CBS affiliate. And people knew when Howard napped off during a TV show because the show would stop and restart. Howard's people would call up and say, Howard had fallen asleep, you need to restart this program, Howard wants to watch it.
Oh, he's an interesting character.
When he died, he was worth $6 billion, and that was in 1976.
Oh my. So who knows how long? Beach balls. Who knows? Maybe they could have been bigger beach balls.
Well, I guess they were good enough.
Yeah.
People just forgot all about it.
How do you forget about beach balls? How do you forget about beach balls in like there? And does the nose actually open up?
I'm sorry?
Does the nose actually open up?
No, not this one. No, I'll show you some pictures.
Okay.
So, I want to point out the black and white diagrams over here. So the black and white diagrams are various cargo configurations for the production aircraft. And in fact, to carry the 400 plus personnel, you have to add an additional flight deck. Now, you guys know who Tony Stark is, right?
Tony Stark.
And here's another beach ball.
So, 1960, Stan Lee, guys at Marvel Comics are coming up with the Iron Man concept. Tony Stark will be based on somebody that Stan Lee apparently admired all his life, the eccentric billionaire. Tony Stark. This is Tony Stark. And in fact, if you watch the movie Endgame, Tony Stark does this time travel thing, and he goes back to meet his father, and his father's name is Howard Stark. And in the early comics, it looks like Howard Hughes.
That's crazy.
So,
She made a suit completely out of wood.
So,
That'd be funny. That'd be absolutely funny though.
so this Tony Stark character is based on him?
Yes.
Wow.
I didn't realize Iron Man was an aviation person.
So, just when you think people don't care about building flying boats anymore, I guess it's been about a year since we learned that DARPA, the Defense Advanced Research Program Agency, is looking at building flying boats once again.
Oh,
Because
finally.
the flying boat can land offshore, come up to the beach, land whatever cargo it has. Now, one of the concepts, their flying boat has a wingspan of 500 feet. We're at 320 feet, so 180 feet bigger than this, capable of carrying multiple light years this way. And the last thing I'm going to
More. Oh, that's actually kind of thick. Fuselage there.
So, and then the 747 right there. So all this framework you see is just laminated wood glued together. So these are the three rings in the wood, right? But these are layer on layer of wing glued together. This aircraft doesn't use nails or rivets. It uses a formaldehyde-based glue, and that quarter-inch should go. You can count 8 layers of wood.
That's crazy.
So the wing gear, each nacelle and the engine unit weighs between 6,000 and 7,000 pounds. Don't have any fears about it hanging above your head. not to mention the weight of the wing itself. And you would think over time fatigue would set in. But the museum will measure periodically the distance from the bottom of the wing floor down to the floor. And in all the time it's been measured, it's never changed. So it says something about the craftsmanship of the designers and the builders. But probably a good thing Howard only flew at one time.
Yeah.
What are these writing?
Those are people that worked on the plane at one time or another. Yeah, when they got it up here, it was painted white, just like in this photo here. Howard had his people paint it white at some point, thinking it would reflect the heat better in the hangar. But when they got it up here, they had all used these scrapers and paint sanders to strip all the white paint down to bare wood. And they found signatures in many places in the bare wood. And they painted back to the way it was in 1947.
The name is kind of misleading too.
Huh?
The name is kind of misleading too. Spruce. It's not even made out of spruce for the most part. Just
you
for
know, nicknames,
nicknames are never accurate.
they stick regardless if they're applicable or not.
So I'm gonna guess those people who painted it, what they did was they just signed their name before they painted it.
Yes. When they repainted it, it took 1,500 gallons of paint.
Oh,
Wow.
That's a lot to
I
paint.
thought painting our house was insurance.
Yeah,
They
right.
have a primer,
Yes.
then they have
the awkward places. Well, I thought the most awkward place to possibly paint might have probably been the
Thank you
edges,
guys for
the
being
very
here.
wing.
Thank you.
Like you're just going,
Oh,
please don't break, please don't break.
We got our newest
It's a
plane,
pretty sturdy plane.
F-117 Nighthawk.
And
This
then you
was
have
the
the
first one
triangle.
into Baghdad during the first Gulf War.
The triangle is always the menacing plane.
Right, yep, yep.
You got the SR-71 and then you have a triangle.
Right, yep.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hey.
That was